Hi and welcome. My name is Dr. John Mason. I'm a founder and facilitator of Masters of the Journey, which is a transformational community. Today, we are got a very special guest that we're going to be interviewing today about sound therapy. He's a very close friend of mine, been a personal friend and colleague for almost 20 years. And Rodger Ruge and I knew each other in California. And now he lives in Colorado, and I don't live in California either. I'm up in the state of Washington. The title for the presentation today is Absorbing Divine Frequency, the Harmonic Resonance of Spiritual Balance. And the focus is going to be the alignment of our physical and spiritual vibration to create balanced body, mind, and spirit. I'll give a little bit of background about Rodger, and some of this is actually relevant to what we're talking about, is he is the author of an internationally known book, The Warrior's Mantra. I think he can tell you more about that if it's relevant, but he's been in learning the arts of healing and spirituality for quite some time. And he has come to the place where he wants to share the knowledge and wisdom that he is gaining and his new purpose in life, which is regarding sound therapy. He currently lives in Nederland, Colorado, which is a city above Boulder, and he is practicing sound therapy with clients. I know he's going to give you some information, and I hope that during the interview we can give you some contact information so that if you have questions, you could either email him or look to the internet to get some more information about that. But I just wanted to welcome Rodger and ask him what his interest is in sound therapy and how he got started on it. Rodger.
Hey, thanks, John. It's great to be here. I appreciate it. And I appreciate being able to share with some of the folks that are in the Masters of the Journey and doing these various outreaches. I just think it's so cool that today, with the internet and the information age, we're able to have so many different healing modalities presented to people, so it really gives people a menu of choices that allows them to kind of select what they resonate with. And I just think that's fantastic. So thanks for letting us all kind of put out the word of the different things that are available. I think out of all the healing arts that are out there, people are probably the least knowledgeable about what I'm doing, sound therapy. Most people have never heard of it, or maybe just have the edges of an understanding around it, some monk singing or chanting in a special tone, or maybe somebody playing with singing bowls. But I've kind of taken that to a new level, combining some of the ancient practices with modern scientific technology. And so I'd like to kind of go into a little bit about how the journey led me to where I am today.
Great.
And what a lot of people don't know is I spent 20 years in law enforcement, and I did pretty much everything that a police officer could do as far as different assignments. I was in traffic enforcement, rode motorcycles. I was a SWAT officer. I did high-risk patrol in some of the more dangerous areas of the community I worked in. And I ultimately became the training manager and taught virtually everything that can be taught within the law enforcement community. And in that journey, I was always looking for a way to be able to improve my service to the community. And I started in the martial arts. And in the martial arts, I'd had an example of energy that I couldn't explain. I saw a phenomena take place that really bent my mind out of its kind of logical analyzer, and it kind of kicked open a door for me. And I began to then explore things like meditation and Kriya yoga and yoga postures, asanas, things like this, breath work, which ultimately led me to work with a fifth generation Apache shaman named Running Bear. And Running Bear really started to open my mind into energetics, healing with hands, putting hands on to cause the body to become colder, hotter. And it just continued to evolve and evolve and evolve. And then something really interesting happened. I developed an interest in electronic music composition. So this would be something where you see a DJ who is creating music, literally using modern technology. And as I picked up the equipment to start studying that, I also started doing my education. And in the education, I discovered the science of sound. And I started diving down this rabbit hole, and I realized, wow, this is a powerful modality of healing. The earth vibrates at a certain hertz, a frequency. It's measurable. All the planets do. And then each one is different. The earth has a very unique song. As a matter of fact, when we capture that and put it into sound, it sounds exactly like birds singing. And so the thought is that the birds are actually singing in tune with the harmonic resonance of the earth. Well, it turns out that our bodies also vibrate at the exact same frequency as the earth. And so, are there ways to create harmonic balance in the body to give the body a relief from the day-to-day stress that we all feel and bring it into balance so that it is optimally tuned to then do what it's supposed to do, heal? So I find that, it's not like you can use sound frequency to cure this or that, but what I do find is you can put the body in an optimal state so that its innate ability to heal is enhanced. It's no different really than any other powerful stress management modality. We're reducing the stress on the body, giving it an opportunity to do what it knows how to naturally do. And I started really taking a look at what creates disharmony in the body. And one of the main ones is living in cities and all the noise and the things that are happening in there, the high stress environment, the assaultive sounds that come at us continuously. And how often do we actually experience silence anymore? I go to a lot of people's houses, I visit, and the television's on continuously. It's always on in the background. There's always this source of stimulation. Do we ever think about its effect on the body? And it occurred to me, I was living in an apartment in Colorado, and I got on my cell phone to set up my ability to hit the internet with the Wi-Fi. And I looked at my phone, and I had over wireless signals. Now that means every single one of those electromagnetic influences is literally passing through my body, through my energetic field.
Well, one second. The video froze for just a second. How many signals did you have? Did you say?
Oh yeah, no worries. I had over 20, which really surprised me, and I really started thinking about all that electromagnetic influence passing through my body, literally. And I started wondering, if my neighbor is surfing something on the Christian religion, and then I have another neighbor who's listening to Metallica, and I got another neighbor who's surfing child porn or whatever, are all of those pieces of information affecting my energetic field? I don't really know, but what we do know is this new technology is something that we have not had to deal with physically, and the book is being written on its effects. There's almost nowhere you can go, even in remote rural areas like I'm in. There's still cell phone signals available, and I'm in the mountains of Colorado at 8,500 feet in a very rural location, and yet I still have those electromagnetic signals, not in the abundance of a city, but they're certainly there. So what is the effect? And can we create a kind of shield, or at least an optimal attunement of the body from time to time, so that we can maybe mitigate some of those effects? This brought me into sound therapy. So that's really the journey that got me to where I am today.
When we were talking a little bit and I was reading some of the information, that this is not something that's brand new. Humans have been using sound technologies for a long time in various ways. And though it may be unfamiliar to us in the modern day culture that we live in, I saw one of your pieces of literature that said that the Gregorian monks, which of course you've taken to look like, it enhances the sound healing properties of what you do. So there's history to that. Can you just speak briefly about the history of this?
Absolutely. There's evidence showing that cultures that existed thousands of years ago were using sounds to heal the body. They would create special chambers that had certain amplification effects of chanting inside them, that kind of thing. There's even these very interesting rocks that you find in South Africa, where if you tap them with another specific rock, the sound of a bell is made, and they're rocks. And they are rocks that were crafted. These are not rocks found naturally. They were literally shaped and crafted. And if you tap the two together, you get the sound of a bell. We might have been for healing, but we absolutely know that we've had sound as a healing modality for thousands of years. One of the things that that I was privileged to learn about was the Gregorian monks. So the Gregorian monks would have a special way of chanting, and they would use certain tonalities in the voice, and people in mass would chant with them. And the reason that they did this was they would experience healings for people that were suffering from maladies by using certain tones to chant. And also, people would feel closer to the divine essence of God or spirit, or however you wish to refer to. That's what is beyond physical form. And this was an amazing thing. So these sounds that the Gregorian monks made were called solfegial frequencies. And there are 9 of them, 6 major sounds and 3 minor. So what I've done is I've been studying with a company called Soma Energetics, and they use the 6 major solfeggio frequencies, and they have created weighted and unweighted tuning forks to those specific frequencies. They resonate at a certain hertz. And it just so happens that each of those frequencies will activate each of the 7 major chakras, which is really interesting. So when you come to get a tune-up from me, for example, I'm literally using weighted forks to touch your body, to create a resonance inside the physical being itself to help balance those chakras. And then I use unweighted ones on the outside of the body, on your aura or your energy field. A lot of different words for that. But I'm tuning up both the ethereal body and the physical body. And bringing that into alignment is very deeply relaxing. Most people, when they're getting a tune-up from me, will actually fall into a very nice sleep while I'm working on them. And they seem to just kind of go out somewhere for a little while. And when they're done, they feel very deeply relaxed, very stress-free, very ready to move forward in their day in a really beautiful flow. And it's just fascinating to watch the shift that takes place by using these very specific ancient frequencies.
Yeah, and to continue with this, I saw that there was a statement in some of the literature, and a question comes to mind, because we're not just talking physical, we're also talking emotional, and we're talking about mental and even spiritual enhancement. And of course, the Masters of the Journey is about supporting people and their striving for consciousness and spiritual development. So the question that I see is, how does sound move us closer to God?
Yeah, well, and that is an excellent question. It's the essence of everything that I'm doing. So when I get a client in, some have a spiritual belief system and others don't. But what I know I'm doing is I'm connecting them with that source frequency that's innate in the physical body. And that creates a wonderful modality to open up a deeper connection to our emotional body. We begin to feel more passionately. And in that, a deeper connection can be made with spirit, with resonating with other people. So it comes into alignment. I believe, my personal belief is that when we're in perfect harmonic resonance, when we're in that state of perfection, we are able to then connect in a much deeper way to God, to spirit. So it's about bringing ourselves like a tuning fork. The body holds a certain resonance. If we can bring that body tuning fork into its perfect alignment, people have a much better time feeling that connection. There's other ways to get to that connection. Sometimes a really good massage can do it, or a guided relaxation exercise by somebody who's gifted in taking somebody through a visualization or a meditation process. Sometimes certain drugs will bring us into a state of euphoria where we sometimes feel even closer connected to what we would call source or spirit. And that's what the tuning forks are doing. They're allowing you access to an optimal state of consciousness, both physically, mentally, and spiritually, to be able to feel more connected to source.
You know, my question is, either from your training or from your personal experience, do you have a sense that a person can be in a relaxed or meditative state with this therapy and have that epiphany where they can actually either experience or know something more about that state of grace, or the source of the divine, or however you want to term that? Have you had any training or experience with that?
Yeah, 100%. I've had training and experience with it. So when you look at the training models, that's really the goal. The goal of all the practitioners in sound therapy is to move you closer and closer to that source consciousness. And it absolutely does that. I have seen people who are finished with a sound therapy session who are in what I would call a completely altered state of consciousness. They may come in feeling anxiety over some life events, or maybe they were running a little bit late and they're kind of have that frantic, buzzy energy, or they've had a little too much caffeine, or whatever it is. And they're very amplified or very down. It's one or the other. And what ends up happening is after the session, they're in this state of really balanced energy. Their heart rate is lower. You can see that the tension that was on the face has relaxed and things are opened up. Their eyes look much brighter. You just see a more focused and balanced and relaxed human being. And we see this in a lot of therapies. There's no doubt about it. I think sound is just another way to get us into that state.
Right. I know it's different for every individual and what their needs are and what their lifestyle is, but what might they expect as far as this tuning that you do with their energies? How long does that last, or how often do they have to come back for another session?
Great question. Each individual is unique. And, it depends on the person. Some people who are, I would call them more advanced in terms of self-care practices, could probably come in once a month and receive benefit. The interesting thing about coming into alignment is that over the preceding few days or the next few days that evolve after the tune-up, many things will continue to shift. And so it seems that a person like that who's in a good place already and wants a tune-up will get benefit out of that for about a month. And so, once a month would be a nice tune-up for that person. Other people who come in are in such a state of disharmony. And it's not just from stress, but it's also from a lack of exercise, poor nutrition habits, and other things that tend to hijack our physical body. That person might need to come in 2 or 3 times a week for 2 or 3 weeks in order to work out a lot of those things to get them to that baseline. And ultimately, my goal is to get everybody to the point where about once a month would be an ideal way to continue to maintain the gains that you've made.
Yeah, this is not at all a factual thing. It's just like it comes to the top of my head. This is kind of like a chiropractic adjustment, and hopefully that you are held in a state of alignment a little bit longer. Let me just,
John, I'll make a quick comment on that. My life partner, Dr. Brandy McCanns, she's a non-force chiropractor. And so if I can get a hold of somebody prior to their treatment with Dr. Brandy, the treatment process she does is enhanced. You know, it's sort of like coming to the chiropractor and getting a massage before the chiropractor does his adjustments. So your muscles are no longer holding all that tension, and the adjustment is even more profound on the spine. So it's also can be an enhancement to other therapies.
Yes. Okay. Another question was posed, how does your emotional state relate to vibrational alignment?
Yeah, this is one of the best indicators that we have. And people don't necessarily look at the emotions they're experiencing as a barometer toward their internal and external health. Mm-hmm. But I would like to help people really understand that the emotional content you feel is in fact a beautiful gauge. In fact, many times the emotional experiences we're having are an early warning indicator that you might want to take some time for self-care. If you find yourself constantly angry, frustrated, aggravated, agitated, things that we would typically label on the negative side of the emotional spectrum, that's an early warning signal that you may want to go slow down a little bit, take a break, find some way to mitigate that early. Because as you know, John, from your experience as a stress management trainer, those emotions left unchecked will ultimately manifest in physical symptomologies where the body is now beginning to go, okay, I'm angry and that didn't get your attention, so let me see if this low back issue is something that will get your attention, if this acid reflux is something that will get your attention. And what many people don't realize is those manifestations of physical symptomologies are not the beginning of the journey. They're in fact the end. It's the body throwing up a little red flag going, please pay attention before we turn into something chronic. Mm-hmm. Our emotional content gives us the ability to do something about it as an early intervention process. So the barometer is, if you're not feeling happy and joyful and passionate about your life every single day, you might want to consider getting some type of help in terms of self-care, because that's our natural state. That's how we should be. But most people don't think that's even possible. They think that that kind of emotional attunement is something that only a few people can obtain, you know, just a few special people, when in fact that's supposed to be our natural state. We've just forgotten as a culture that that's true. Mm-hmm. And when we take a look at our media, especially the type of shows that are on now, you know, very few of them are feel-good moments. They're these intense dramas where hell is breaking loose, and at the end the hero is dejected but survives it, and somehow that's romantic and cool. This is far from perfect resonance as we can get. It's a state of disharmony, and somehow we've come to worship it.
Yeah, I think people are addicted to whatever the fear, the anxiety, and the adrenaline rush that goes along with that. And obviously the media, both in movies, television, even some music, have aligned themselves with the addiction that we have.
Yeah, you know, and music's another interesting piece. When we look back into the great composers that we saw, you know, the Beethoven, the Mozart, the Bach, those people conducted their symphonies in 432 hertz tuning. And 432 hertz tuning is a harmony that the body resonates with. As a matter of fact, there's almost no one that you can't play that music for, that even if it's not their thing, this kind of classical music, if you give them a nice set of headphones and just tell them to listen for a little bit, they are put into a state of consciousness that shows all of the things we've been talking about, a much more relaxed, much more blissful state. When we look at modern musical tuning, it's set to 440 hertz. And this was done by the Rockefellers and the Nazis' propaganda machine. So Western signature music was tuned to 440 hertz specifically because it creates a disharmonic resonance in the body. Very interesting to note that makes people a bit easier to control and manipulate. And when we look at some of the heavy metal music, for example, the disharmonic resonance in the body actually can cause physical damage on a cellular level, which is interesting. And as a kid, I used to love heavy metal music. I used to love to bang my head and feel that rage and aggression. But think about the energy of those emotions that you're stoking every single day when you've got your stereo cranked as loud as you can get it. What is the long-term effect on our internal systems and balance from listening to music that is not in harmonic resonance? As an experiment for people, if they'd like to do this, just go to YouTube and type in solfeggio music, and it's SOLFEGGIO, solfeggio. Type in that on YouTube and look at the videos that come up. You'll see dozens upon dozens of people who have taken musical instruments, tuned them to 432 hertz, and then put certain solfeggio frequencies together in beautiful musical backgrounds. Put a set of headphones on and listen to one of those and tell me how it affects you. I think you'll be very, very surprised at how good you feel even after 10 or 15 minutes of listening to that kind of music.
Well, thank you for giving us that resource. And I wanted to stop right now and ask, what other resources can you provide, or how can we and how can we get in contact with you to experience your work, or at least learn more about it?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I personally am absolutely in love with what I call the Oracle, and that's YouTube. And so I do a lot of surfing on YouTube for sound science. And an interesting place, if people are interested in learning more, is to learn about cymatics, cymatics. Cymatics will give you an incredible journey into how certain tones and frequencies, when put into a metal plate with sand or some other type of modality placed on it, and you vibrate it at that frequency, it creates sacred geometrical patterns that we have seen throughout thousands of years of history, all from harmonic resonance. It's very interesting when you take the ancient Hebrew language and you take Sanskrit and you sing the vowels from those languages. They will create sacred geometrical patterns on a plate that has sand on top of it. Mm-hmm. When you take the English language and you sing the tonalities of those vowels, nothing, flat. So the ancient languages were also musical frequency languages designed to create these balances in the body just through speech and song and chanting. Fascinating. So,
how do you spell that again?
Cymatics, Cymatics.
Is that C or Z?
C is in Charles.
Okay.
Very, very interesting. Lots of great YouTube videos on that. And then there's just a bunch of great websites that those videos will also take you to for people who are interested in exploring. And anybody who wants to get a hold of me, I just created a new Facebook page. On Facebook, it's Mountain Sound Therapy. So you can find that one and get a hold of me that way. You can also get a hold of me on my personal Facebook page, which is just Rodger, Rodger, Ruge, Ruge. And I'm easily found on Facebook. And people can call me directly, which is 707-975-0899. Or they can email me at transformwithrodger@gmail.com.
Great. So we have lots of ways to contact you and some resources to look things up. Can you, in the future, come back and give us some updates on not only the work that you're doing, but any other resources that you might find? Because our community is always looking for new and better ways to connect with spirit. And if they're curious about this, I know you're putting time and energy into this. They would probably benefit from any of cutting edge research that you're doing.
I very much would be delighted to share what I have going on and any new things that come up, different resources. I'll share those with you directly, John, to pass on to the community as well anytime. I'd be very happy and honored. And I'm just thrilled that, you know, the Masters of the Journey is offering so many modalities to connect. I mean, it's just so exciting to me. It's a great community.
Thank you so much. And Rodger, one other thing that I wanted to say, if we can make this available to people, if you could send me some of the links and some of the information in a written form, we might be able to post that on our webpage, have a special section just for sound therapy. So maybe we can do some listening and again, refer people back to you to have their questions answered.
That's terrific. Happy to do it. In fact, I've got a couple of wonderfully created YouTube videos that are, one's a 15-minute tune-up on your chakras using the solfeggio frequencies, and another one's 35 minutes. I'm going to send you the link to those because I think people would really love it. A 15-minute tune-up, just by putting on a set of headphones, it works quite well.
Wow. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time and your expertise. I'm not going to ask this of you right now, but if you could really practice your Gregorian chants and share those with us, or not.
You actually can get CDs of Gregorian chanting, and I'll tell you, it's really something to experience. Again, you'll find that on YouTube as well. Go play.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you, Rodger. Anything you want to say before we sign off today?
No, just thanks, everybody. I appreciate it, and I'm here to serve. If you need any information, just get hold of me.
Great. Well, thanks again, Rodger. I'm going to end the recording now. Thank you.